Hey Homeworthy, I'm Corrie. Welcome to my apartment. Come on in here, get out of the hall.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, I'm Corrie Beth Hogg, and I'm an artist, and we are in my apartment in Lefferts Gardens, Brooklyn. I knew I wanted to be near Prospect Park, which is about 10 minutes that way. So we were driving around the neighborhood and we saw a realtor sign on the side of a building, and I called. And yeah, they showed me this place. And there used to be a gigantic mirror on this wall. When I walked in, like one of those 1980s crackly deals. But I took it down. I believe I have been here about 13 years. So the process of the apartment has taken about that long. And because I'm a maker and I make things all the time and I get attached to them, and so then I start piling them, you'll see when we walk through the place, you'll see, you're like, oh, I made that, and then I made that, and then I made that, because that's how it happened. In a lot of ways, that's how the apartment got its look, is that I either made things for myself or for my job, and they've just accumulated over time. And plus I like color and handmade things and unique things. So for the most part, I make paper plants, and I started doing that about 10 years ago and published a book called Handmade Houseplants. And so I teach different classes online, and I have tutorials that are available on Etsy, and I also do paper mache projects like for the home. So you'll see those scattered about the apartment. So vases, trays, things like that, frames, and I have tutorials and templates that I provide people and teach. I suppose my favorite room is the room we're in, which is my little art studio, which is just on the side of the living room. So when you walk in the front door, it's a big open space. And so I put up a shelf just as a little divider. And so this side became my studio, which is great because this is where the big windows are. So I get nice natural light for when I'm working. And I have tons of little workspaces to do all my various crafts and make magical things. We are currently in the living room, and behind me is the front door, the entryway. So a bunch of my paper plants are here, which works out because maybe you can tell on the video, but the window is over there in the studio. And then I did this very wise thing of putting the shelf to block all the light. So anyway, if I wanted to have real plants right here, I never could have because the window is way over there. But that's all right, it works out. Look. 6 butts can go here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I had a couple cool great aunts who were the first or of the first in their fields for women. So the one that I inherited this from was an architect, and she graduated from Tulane in the 1940s, and she had a job in New York City. And so she brought this couch, or she got this couch here in the 50s, and I inherited it. So it came to New York, and then it went back to Mississippi. I'm from Mississippi, and then it came back again. That's where that couch came from. That one is also mid-century, but I think more like 70s, whereas this is, more like 50s. That one came from Craigslist. Oh, and this was my aunt's marble table too, from her big New York City job as an architect in the 1950s. When the door just opens to your living room, what do? Oh, so you just put a little tiny furniture, and you put all your keys and your umbrellas and your hats and stuff in there. And then here I have, oh, that's Ryan. These are portraits that I made of the two of us sometime, I don't know, 2 years ago maybe. And what happened was I went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and they had these portraits in their European painting wing, and I just became enamored with how they were done. These are very poor, I wasn't able to skill-wise do what they did, but sentimentality-wise, you know what I mean? The portrait at the Met had this nice green color. So I just assigned myself. Sometimes art projects, I just assign myself what I wanted to. So in this case, I decided, I need 2 portraits of me and Ryan for the time when we live in a grand castle and we need like portraits above a great big fireplace. But that didn't happen yet, so now they're just here by the door. And so the green is inspired by the Netherlandish work, and then the 2 frames are also inspired by 2 different frames that are at the Met, a little bit earlier than the paintings. They're made of cardboard and paper mache. So that was fun. And this is a paper mache tray that I made for the keys and the mask, and a begonia, paper begonia. On this wall is a collection of stuff. A lot of it I did, but that's because I'm a hoarder of crafts supplies and of my own crafts. So these, of course, are collages that I've been working on this year. And Ryan put them in these nice frames because he's a picture framer. And this collage I did a few years ago, and it's basically like paper scraps from my paper art projects, and then also fabric scraps from when I was making my pants, because I had a period there where I made like 20 different pairs of pants. So there was a lot of fabric scraps. Oh, so if you ever like, oh man, I need a big piece of artwork for over my couch, may I suggest scraps and little tiny rectangles. Just copy this. People comment on this all the time, and I swear I did this in like 2 hours, and you can too. And the other stuff here is some various prints from books. That great big flea market that happens in Atlanta every 3rd Saturday or whatever it was. One time I went there and I bought a bunch of prints out of books, so that's what some of this stuff is. And this, which is slightly hidden, is a print, and I have a couple others in different rooms, is a woodcut by Martin Mazzora, and he did these like country crooner couples. This is Dolly Parton and Porter Wagoner. Now, God bless Dolly Parton. Even though that's not, the likeness is a little, she looks a little wonky, but we love her. We love her so much. And of course, everybody knows that she wrote I Will Always Love You for Porter Wagoner, so that's who that is. That's one of Ryan's paintings, my partner. There's a few around the apartment, but he has a studio in Red Hook. I painted this. That was kind of fun, doesn't it? I followed a tutorial that I saw in the New York Times, although I had to follow it loosely. That's how I got inspired to paint the lampshade. So many books that they have grown on top of each other, but that is okay. Handmade houseplants, remarkably realistic plants you can make with paper by Corrie Beth Hogg with photography by Christine Hahn. This is a tutorial book for making paper plants. All kinds of, I think there's 30 different paper plants in here. And then you get the templates in the back. Oh, here's one of my begonias, my paper begonias. And this little plate I love, it's by Sylvie St. Andre Perrin. She's a potter. We went to her studio in Paris, and I was able to get this and another one. So I used to work for this designer called David Stark Design, and we published a book called The Artisan's Table. So I was kind of like the producer, project manager, stylist type person on that. And so we went to Paris because she's one of the artists in the book, and went to her studio. And so I got this. I love it. And this is one of my paper mache trays. And this little pomegranate is by Anandamandi Arnold. I think I'm saying her name right. I really hope so. A paper artist out of California. These were 2 samples that I made for a project for David 15 years ago, probably. But you know, they're sort of inspired by Claus Oldenburg. But luckily I got to keep them because they were just samples. This sweet little painting, it's actually a print, but I have some artists in my family, and my aunt, Leafia Smith, is an artist, and she painted this of the house that she grew up in, and where I sort of went to spend Christmas and stuff, my grandparents. So there's like a lot of memories here with cousins and family gathering and stuff. So everybody got a print of her painting, so that's mine. Okay, so these two guitars, cigar box guitars, Ryan and I made when we were first dating, and he's lefty, so he made this one. It's left-handed, and I made this one. They do play, although I haven't touched it in a while, so I probably need to replace the strings. But yeah, that was a fun, because he's an artist too, so it was a fun craft project that we did together. And people always ask me about this chair. I mean, look at this wild fabric. This was just a lucky find from this place called Yesterday's News. It's on over there on Court Street and Carroll Gardens. They have a lot of good stuff, vintage stuff. And yeah, just found that one day. Didn't have to reupholster it, came like that. I said, who wants a loud chair? Me, I'll take a loud chair. We're in the kitchen now, / dining room. We traveled very far to get here. No. Okay, so this table I made. It is not fancy, but I did make it because this room is kind of narrow, right? I'm feeling lucky that even though this building is like 1952, I think, that it is a little bit open floor plan, and that the kitchen, you know, there's not like the kitchen is not closed off, but it just meant that this room is a little bit narrow. So I debated a round table, and then ultimately I landed on this long narrow table, which kind of doesn't exist, this being this narrow, because this is even less than 3 feet wide. So I just made it. What happened was I got 3 planks of wood, and then the legs are made with, I drew them in Illustrator, and then I sent them to a CNC guy who cut them. And yeah, so then I painted it this, you know, sort of Eve's Klein blue, which is nice blue, and I painted one of my favorite paper plants that I like to make, which is the Rex begonia. And these are just Target chairs. Oh, and this rug is something that I inherited from my great aunts that I were talking about earlier, because they have good taste. And oh, this is a little sconce that I made with paper mache. Don't worry, it's a battery operated candle. Don't worry, I wouldn't do that to you. I just got a bee in my bonnet that said, make a giant asparagus, and so that's what I did. You know, there's some artists, like I mentioned before, like Klaus Oldenburg, that does make these oversized things. Maybe I was inspired by that, but also it was like the pandemic, and I was like assigning myself projects left and right to like stay busy while I was staying home all the time. So yeah, this is just a tube, like a mailing tube, and then the bottom where it gets wider is an oatmeal container. You know, Quaker oats, when they come in those tubs that are like that. So that's down there. And then these little parts of the asparagus are just cardboard. Paint, of course. Oh, paper mache plates that I made. That one is Ryan's initials and my initials and the year that we met. But those are just cardboard and paper mache. And this was another project sample that I made for David a million years ago. There was a trend going on there for a while, or his interest was, but this one was crochet. I do remember how long this took me to make. Do you want to know? 40 hours. I mean, part of that is because I was like, how do I make that? How do I do, you know, I was like figuring it out. Some I had to take it apart and put it back together. Okay, we do have a few real plants and a few paper plants as well. More books. Oh, this was a fun project. This is, you know, over there when I was talking about my collages and I was talking about how I painted the newspaper, that started when I made this 3D sculpture, this flower arrangement with painted newspaper, and this was a Domino Sugar package. No paper is safe. No paper is safe in my house. Or tube or cardboard. But anyway, yeah. So, and junk mail, like this different stuff is junk mail and stuff. Anyway, and then of course one of my paper mache vases. And this little tiny desk, this was my work from home desk during the pandemic. Because at first, when everybody was having to work from home, I was working in my studio, and then the vibes were off. because I was like, that's my studio space. And my desk had become my work desk. And so I just went on the interwebs and I bought myself this tiny little desk, and then this became the work from home spot. But it works out because occasionally we call this little corner the library. Doesn't it feel like that with the wingback chair and the lamp over the chair and stuff with the books? It's like, oh, that's the library. Meanwhile, there's like 2 feet here and then 2 feet, but anyway. And that's Ryan's guitar. Over here next to the dining room, of course, is our kitchen, which functions very well. And oh, we painted. You know, like we had the landlord special on these, so we did paint them. Over there are a couple more of those woodcuts that I was talking about earlier. This is another one of my pandemic projects. It was a Corrie, assign yourself more projects. So I made these crocheted eggs. And of course they got framed because Ryan is a framer. I mean, I know normal people don't do this, but that's what happened. And of course in the kitchen. I know they're green eggs, and everyone's like, where's the ham? I am vegan. I do not eat ham, nor do I eat eggs, but they're green, so it's a fantasy. So this wallpaper I designed, and this is up here temporarily, so don't look too close because it's not perfect. But this is up here temporarily because I wanted to try it out, because I just had it made on spoonflower with my design of the white wood aster. You know, that native wildflower that grows in New York State and other places too? Yeah. And so yeah, I just got a small amount to try out here, and more of my paper plants. And this painting I made, and this is just sort of a funny thing where I became obsessed with the pattern. So I painted it on the table of the painting. So this weird thing is happening, right? Where they're sort of blending together. And then of course this is reminiscent of my paper mache. Just self-referencing, I guess. Oh, anyway, that's right. Oh, you know how there's that genre of painting when they have a plant growing out of a pot, right? It's like the flower of one thing and the leaf of another thing and the bud of another thing, and then sort of this like mix up of plants. So that's sort of what I was thinking of when I made this, hence why it's a Rex begonia vine, but it's also a tulip, but it's also pokeweed and strawberry. Ooh, a bunch of my favorite stuff. But anyway, that's how that happened. Oh, and this is another paper mache frame I made. And that's, of course, me and Ryan. It's inspired by the Harvey album. Okay, so if you go onto the Met website, and you can see a bunch of their collection online, and because this one's not on display, but they have the Harvey album, and it's basically like Victorian women, and especially when photographs were new, they would hand paint the photo album. And so she had a lot of nice examples. You know, they'll have like the image and the photo in the middle of the page of the album, and then around that they will have painted, a lot of times with watercolor. Oh, this is my very first paper mache project. Okay, so I did paper mache when I was a kid, and then of course, I think I had to do it in like a 3D design class in college. It was like typical art school stuff. But then when I knew I wanted to be Mary Poppins, I did this parrot umbrella. It was just a regular umbrella with a straight handle, because you know how some are crooked, but it was just a straight handle. And I made it with foil and paper towels, and then I covered it with paper mache and painted it. I suppose the place is neutral in that I haven't painted all the walls, and my 2 couches are neutral, and the floors are very neutral, but then everything else is color. That's just how I like it. You know what color does is that it bounces your eye around the room. I mean, that's true for any, you know, when you're composing something like a painting or any kind of piece of art, one of the things that bounces your eye around it and keeps someone interested can be a color. I think I do that unconsciously, where I'm like, oh, there's blue here, so there needs to be like a pop of blue over there. And then just over time, the apartment looks colorful. If there was a flood that reached all the way up to the 6th floor, what would I swim away with? Oh, you know, I just have like a couple little rings that were my grandmother's. I know they're not big and they're not going to make a splashy moment in the film, but probably my grandmother's rings. This is the bedroom. This This is where I sleep, and Ryan sleeps. More paper plants, and there's a little bit less color in here because I thought, oh, let's try it and like not have a clown car in the bedroom. So yeah, there's like more neutrals in here. And oh, here's some of that field maple that we were working on in the studio. I put it in here. One of my paper mache trays. Here's my grandmother's ring. Isn't that cool? Like, I don't know anything about it. I don't know where she got it or if it has a story, but it just kind of has that like texture. Isn't that unique? Oh, I love it. You know, she was an artist too. Maybe she was just attracted to something that was a bit unusual. So, I don't know. She was tall. The women of my mom's side of the family were tall. I don't know what happened. I didn't get it. But that's okay. Oh, so yeah, we made the furniture in here. It was another thing where I just designed the files on Adobe and I sent them to be cut CNC, and then we assembled them, those little side tables. And these little sconces are just cheapo Amazon ones, and I painted the scallops. And that little frame was another paper mache. And that's my sweet mom on a bicycle. Or she got a new bike, and so she took a picture. Bicycles are worth celebrating. We have to take photos when we get a new bicycle. Oh yeah, so the headboard is part of what we designed. It was just piece of plywood, birch plywood that was cut in that shape by the CNC person, humans. I want everybody to take a deep breath. Any paper mache that, okay, there's two paper mache lamps in this apartment. In both cases, they're built around a glass existing lamp, so that there's no chance of anything touching a hot bulb. And the bulb isn't hot anyway because it's LED. Anyway, so I got an inexpensive fixture from Amazon, and I had to take it apart a little bit to install my paper mache lampshade over it. So this little room divider is just canvas. Ryan helped me make it. I know you see like a room divider in a movie or something and someone is always like changing clothes behind it. No, you know what's behind there? My rowing machine and my yoga ball and my weight bench. Because who wants to look at that all the time? And if you don't have like a cozy basement where you put all your workout gear, then you put it behind a folding screen that you made with your boyfriend out of canvas and paint. That's what happened. I mean, probably if you spend a little time working on things, like there's nothing fancy about this apartment, right? It's a rent stabilized building. It's made out of brick. Even, you know, there's no like fantastic architecture or anything like that. But I made so much in here that I've just grown more attached to the space itself because there's like memories attached to everything. Oh, this is funny. This is, I hope there's nothing in there that you don't need to see. But that's just, these are just inexpensive Target shelves because I wanted something narrow here for storage. And then I just sewed this table skirt and put this hunk of wood on here. But really what's under there is just cheapo Target shelves. I did a little something that was little Looney Tunes in here. Did you pick up on it? Can you tell what I did? The bed is not in the center of the room. Because the lamp is there, right? So it sort of feels like the bed should be in the center. But I said to myself, where are you gonna do your jumping jacks? Over there. Because really it's kind of a long room, isn't it? For a relatively small New York City apartment. So I decided to put this here and center the bed on here and put the painting here and make this feel like the center. And then you sort of forget that the light is not actually in the center of the bed. But then that just gives me this little space over there to do my exercising. Hey, we're in my studio. This table here is just a door. And these are the little sawhorses I made in my brother's backyard. And I cleaned out for you guys, meaning all my art supplies are over there. Because usually this table is a big, huge mess. Have you ever seen so many pins in your life? Probably not. But listen, this is where I get to make things, and it's the joy of my life. And I just love art supplies. You know how some people collect like music boxes or dolls? or seashells. I collect art supplies. So I have a ton of art supplies, but it makes me happy. So I do have tons of stuff pinned to my bulletin board, and that's something else that has happened over time, right? Someone sends me a card, I like the front of it, I pin it up there, or I make a little puppet of a dog and I pin it up there. Or I go to a show at an art museum and I like the little flyer, so I pin it up there. You know what's cool up here is the unicorn tapestry at the cloisters, you know, the Met cloisters. If you haven't gone, you gotta go. I was marking down which paint pens and which paint colors I used on a project, and I sort of liked how it looked, so I stuck it up there. Oh, that's me when I was, what, probably 5. My friend made me that as part of a Halloween costume because I needed something really lightweight. It's just MDF plywood. So I needed something really lightweight to carry around as part of a Halloween costume. And I just liked it because you know how when something comes together like really quickly and it's kind of like slapdash, there's some charm to it. And so I've always just really liked it. So it's been hanging up there for a while. And over here are some mounted animal heads that I feel like I made in a different lifetime because I did probably make them 15 years ago. But yeah, they're just happy. So those are there. Oh, here's my little puppet that I made after I saw the unicorn tapestry. I don't know if you can tell that it's a little unicorn and her little legs, you can move them and shape them and stuff. You know what I like about this is the possibility in here. My aforementioned, you know, obsession with art supplies means that just about anything is possible. And so when I come in here, what am I limited by? Time and my own self-doubt. But other than that, just about anything is possible. So this table, I kind of can break down and put back up depending on what I'm working on. These are just IKEA sawhorses, and again, this is another hollow door. So right now I've been working on these collages of geraniums. So here is all the stuff I've been using to do that. And I can show you, so I've been using recycled newspaper that I paint for the different parts of the collage. So like here's all the leaves and the flowers. Oh, and the different pots that I use, like on the collage. It's a series, so they're all like variations on a theme. Like I stuck to a really narrow theme, which is actually a new thing for me, but I thought it sounded fun. You know, sort of to make the same thing, but like slight subtle changes to it, like 10 or 12 times. So that's what's going on here. You know, it has 3 main elements, right? It's the plant, it's the pot that it's in, and it's the table that it's on. Oh, and the background, which is all just recycled paper that I've painted. And then I build with the flowers being in different places and the subtle shades of the green leaves. This studio, a lot happens in here because this little space right here where the light comes in from the side is where I take, so my whole book was shot here. So if I'm taking a photograph for Instagram or making a video for TikTok or whatever, a lot of times I'm shooting right here. And I have these 2 little walls. This one is green right now and that one is pink. And they're just like, it's just my really low-tech filming studio. And they're just sheetrock that I slide on the floor on a bunch of old towels. Whatever gets the job done, let me tell you. So yeah, so then if I want something different, I'll paint them a different color. And they're just big enough for the, you know, the scale of the things that I make. Right here I was working on a field maple. Do you know a field maple? In the fall, you know how some trees turn red and some orange and some yellow? The field maple goes this sort of yellow chartreusey color. So this, I was trying to capture it in the fall. So yeah, what I like about field maple is I think they look kind of cartoony. Like all the edges are a little bit roundy Anyway, I think that's fun. Anyways, that's what's going on here. And then this is one of my paper mache shapes that I make. This is the first stage, which is cardboard. And I just cut it and assemble it like that. And then it gets covered in a couple layers of paper mache, right? Right. And then it gets primed and then painted. So that's that one, obviously. And because it's my business, I can paint them however I want. Some of these templates you can get on my Etsy. Corrie Beth Makes on Etsy. And this particular one, this shape, which is the same. Ooh, did you get the echo? Ooh. But anyway, this shape is part of my class with Creative Bug. So creativebug.com. You can just search my name. So if you wanted to make this, there's like a video tutorial. And then you could paint yours however you want. Everything is labeled. It didn't start out that way. There's been years where it is a complete disaster. But earlier this summer, I cleaned. You're like, Corrie, you still have a lot of stuff. What happened? You didn't clean good enough. I know. But I admitted it, addicted to art supplies. So yeah, I have to have stuff for sewing because I like to sew. That's my sewing machine. And I have to have stuff for my paper. And I have to have stuff for making paintings. And I have to have my photography stuff. And I have printmaking stuff. Oh, you know what's good about these shelves? I put the wheels on them. So then I have stuff stored behind. And it's all just like make do. You know, I don't have a, you know, those like, I see these images online where someone has like, everything is white and the shelves are all perfect. That didn't happen. I don't know, that didn't happen for me. Over time, it was like, oh, I have more stuff. I guess I better buy another shelf to put all my stuff. But anyway, it's working. It's working for now. And this is just enough space for the stuff I need to do. And yeah, like I said, I can break this table down if I need more floor space, because for dancing. Home means safety, comfort, love, and where you can be yourself. And I hope everybody gets to have that, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. That's the other thing too. As someone who's, you know, I have visual language in my life. I make art. I've had design jobs. You know, my place in some respects might look like I've put some attention on it, but more important than how it looks is that I feel safe and like I could be myself here. So I hope that for you too. And plus my partner's here, Ryan is here, and we have a really sweet relationship, and he's a very kind man, and so I just feel really grateful that I get to share my life with him here.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.